First of all, thank you guys so much for coming. It's going to be a action-packed morning here for, what, a couple of hours or so? Is that about right? We've got really three different things we're going to talk about, but what I want to do is this is a rare opportunity that we get.
Eric Combs
has left the conference.
We lose Eric Combs, but no, where we get the technical team leads and the service leadership, okay, and the sales team all together at the same time. So there's a number of things that I wanted to cover. I know we originally talked about the cloud strategy, but there's some things that I wanted to do before we really get into that, to try and really set the stage for it. First of all, this is not going to be a very light thing. It's extremely important for everyone to be on the same page with respect to not only what the technical team leads are and the role they have in the organization. Can you guys mute your phones, please? But also about the cloud strategy. We need to all sing the same song, say the same things, be on the same page. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a quiz each week on what's covered the prior week, and that will be pass-fail. Okay, so you're going to need to take notes during these meetings so that you are prepared for that training class. Okay, I'm sorry, for that quiz. So be prepared to ask questions, but nothing that is on the quiz is not in the presentation materials or very, very explicitly mentioned, maybe multiple times verbally. Almost everything that will be quizzed on will be actually in the presentation itself. Cool? Okay.
Lee has arrived.
Okay. Hey Lee, can you please mute your phone? All right, so first of all, I want to... Okay, can you mute yourself then, please? All right. Okay, so what first I want to do is really talk about the organizational chart, because we have some things operating within Infinity that don't really follow it, okay? Number one, if you'll notice, Tyler and Eric, they report into me. So when they have an service escalation issue, they should be bringing that into me. Same thing with James Cassane, okay? When he has something he needs some help in, he comes into me, okay? So don't be afraid to do that. I think there's been a historical issue with coming to me with issues and problems. People don't want to bother me or stress me out or whatever. Unfortunately, it's my job. And we're seeing some things that are going on within the organization that I need to be more involved in, and I really want to encourage you guys to come to my office with that. But if Eric has an issue with Tyler, he should go to Tyler first and work on that issue. If Eric has an issue with someone underneath Tyler, he should go to Tyler first so that they can resolve that issue together. If those are unable to be successful, then they would escalate into me, right? Same thing with, for instance, James Cassane. If he's got an issue with Tyler, or anyone on Tyler's team, he should go to Tyler with that issue. If he can't get an adequate resolution to that, that should be escalated into me, okay, which would then hopefully resolve the issue. So that's one thing I wanted to mention on the organizational chart. Does everybody understand really what the blue team, orange team concepts are?
Are we following that?
The answer is, I hope so. It was not an optional thing.
Well, the reason he asked that is because for CITMs, it's not a black-white thing, because half of Rhode Island's accounts are in Tampa Bay, and it's not, you can't just split it down the middle. It's like 2/3 is Tampa, 1/3 is everything else. That's why he's asking that.
I don't know why that would be, because when I did the original math on this, it was almost exactly half. If you added Sarasota, Orlando, and Atlanta.
For total accounts, but managed services accounts, it's 2/3 Tampa, 1/3 outside Tampa.
Okay. We need to get there. The only way we're going to have the level of intimacy and teamwork, intimacy with our customers and teamwork across our organization, is if everyone knows who to go to. And it sounds like Mark is all of Tampa. I'm sorry, Ryland is all of the other cities, okay? But they may have to go to Mark or Ryland for Tampa. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so that's within the sales organization. Then the BTA organization, though, that should be pretty clean, okay? So blue is Nick and Matt, I'm sorry, orange is Nick and Matt, and Jim is blue. But okay, so when we have a territory meeting, okay, you'll hear the territory meeting, everyone needs to be on the same page. Jim needs to be there, Rylan needs to be there, okay? The technical team leads need to be there. Great. Because we've got to start improving cross-organization communication, okay? We're not doing we're kind of operating in silos right now instead of teams. I think within departments we're operating as teams, and maybe as an organization we're even trying, but within territories we need to develop a stronger level of intimacy, better communication about particular customers, and it's the only way that I know how to get that done. And this is why, as we're growing up, you'll see that we're hitting kind of a ceiling, where we're not able to pierce through that veil. We kind of got up to 200, collapsed a little bit, and now we're building back up to it. The reason I think our industry in general, okay, I'm going to really explain why I did this. No, we're the biggest in our industry, right? The only way to get bigger than we are is to start selling a crap load of hardware. And I did a lot of research on why that is. Why are we having trouble going through that envelope? And why is our industry, why are we so damn large? And other people aren't. But yet we can't seem to get bigger. And the reason is because of client intimacy. We're losing customers. Why? Because they don't feel like that we know them anymore. We care about them as much anymore. Okay, so what we're really doing in the organization is dividing into two groups. Okay? We're literally dividing into two groups. So that the orange team's kind of acting as one company, and the blue team's kind of acting as one company. They're communicating more, they're talking more, and when they go to lunch, they're talking about the same 25 customers or 50 customers. And I think long term, you're going to have 10, 20, 30 teams. And if we have to get to where we actually break out the offices, we may have to do that. Right? Most companies in our industry don't go to more than one city. Right? We're trying to go against that mold and say, you know what, we can go to more than one city, yet have a shared service center here in Tampa. Okay, so we're able to kind of consolidate resources and have a brain trust here in Tampa that's arguably stronger than what we could have if each city operated alone. Okay, so what we're doing is breaking into two, an orange team and a blue team. And those teams need to talk, they need to meet, they're supposed to meet all the time, right? And we'll talk, there's a schedule, it was published and we're going to talk about it in a minute. But those teams are actually the sales team and the service team. Right? So you have the orange team here, blue team here, this is the remote team. Within the cities it's obvious what it is, right? Ron's team, which is the Tampa market, is what now? Orange, right? And then Eric, Richard, and Lee's team is blue. So those people need to talk more. So Chris London, if we have Chris London working on Tampa Bay customers, we are not going to be able to grow anymore. We are not going to be able to grow anymore. We've reached the end of our ability to grow. Okay? You think you're doing everyone a favor by having only one guy answer the phone? In reality, he doesn't know shit about those customers. But when a customer calls in, they should hear a familiar face, someone who knows their business. Oh, hey, Bill. Not Mr. Smith reading the pop-up. We have these pop-ups now that talk about all the specifics about each customer. That's one way to kind of start to grow a little bit in scale, but what I'm seeing in our industry, it's not enough. Customers demand way, way more intimacy, way more knowledge about them. They want to see the same guy come to their office, maybe two. They want to talk to the same guy or maybe two on the phone when they call in the remote team. So I'm looking at ways where we can take the phone system and actually have a calls automatically routed. So within those teams, Simon, Tyson, and Scott should be the only people helping Tampa Bay customers. By doing that division, each of these guys is going to become more intimately aware and knowledgeable of the customers. They're going to start to develop a relationship. If you think back to Infinity when we were smaller, customers appreciated us more. When we had a guy pass away, do you remember when customers came to that funeral? There was a relationship built on the phone. We don't have that anymore. Customers don't feel that same level of intimacy with us on the remote support team because we have the same people answering the phones. That's because some people think that they're above kind of answering the phone, and the reality is Stephen and Chris should be the ones answering the phone for Tampa Bay. Outside of Tampa Bay. And that's it. If they're not available, then it should go to those people. Having the same person answer the phone is not helping us get where we want to go.
How can we differentiate those inbound calls though from territory?
They're caller ID.
I mean, I know we can do it by area code, but it's hard enough to get people to just pick up a ringing phone.
That's a cultural thing, to be honest with you, Ron, that's got to change or they need to be fired. We're to the point now, guys, where we don't really have a choice. Our customers are not as happy as they need to be for us to keep them and grow. When we're going into these contract renewals, we're fighting for our lives.
Could we add just an additional voice prompt in the phone system that says if you're a Tampa Bay customer, hit 1, if you're outside of Tampa Bay, hit 2?
That could be a better way to route the inbound.
And then that call goes primarily to the people at those desks, and if they're unavailable, then it rolls over to the others?
You could, or you get 2 different phone numbers. Or really 3 different phone numbers, because we have a number for each market. Yeah. They can go to the
we
teams.
have the 800 number that I don't think anybody from Tampa
It's unfortunately, guys, it's just not that hard. If you look at the Unity Express thing that pops up, I don't know if you guys are using that on your desktop with televisions, it tells you who's calling. It'll literally say 407 Orlando Science Center. So these guys should see that and pick up the phone. So Francesca should not answer the phone.
Unless everyone's on.
And so if these are on the phone, they answer the phone. I'm sorry, aren't available. And when I say available, they should be on the phone. If they're not on the phone, then these guys should answer the phone. If none of these 5 people are available, then it should go into this team in here. The Tony, Dan, Francesca. Guys, if we don't get the customer intimacy back, we're done growing. This is it. There's no more opportunity for growth and expansions, promotions, and all that. We're not going to get any bigger. Okay? That's why it's not optional. The orange team, blue team is not optional. Okay? The second thing I really want to focus on is this concept of the territory lead. And we're going to talk a lot about this today. Okay? Ron has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 direct reports. Mike works for Ron. He does not work for Eric Morton. Ron works for Eric. Ron should be doing his review. Eric should be very involved, engaged, aware, managing the process, and of course, ultimately, Mike reports to Eric, or me, right, depending on where you want to go to. But these people, Lee, Richard, Eric, Ron, need to start acting like managers. And that has a tremendous amount of responsibility, and effective today, it's not optional. If they're unable to or unwilling to perform that job function, I want them replaced. And we're going to go into much more detail about what that job function is, but I just want to make it very clear that this is not optional. It is not fair for Eric Morton to have to manage 15 people. He won't make it. Ron needs to step up and do his job, or Ron will be replaced. Richard needs to step up and do his job, or Richard will be replaced. Right? I'm not saying, I'm going to give examples, but I don't want for anyone to feel like they're being objectified here. We're going to act as though today is the first day for the rest of our lives, and I need everyone, and specifically around these technical team leads, to step up. Okay? So just like the orange and blue split is not optional, it is not optional. It is not optional. Neither is the actual functional territory lead. That job description is very well documented, and we're going to go over it today. Any questions on the organizational chart? Nothing? So
Terry, I actually do have a question.
Sure.
We're doing, I mean, you've got the field services split out pretty well as far as respective, I mean, obviously because of cities. But, I mean, and, you know, you brought up the example, it's not fair for Eric to manage 15 people because he'll fail.
Mm-hmm.
So in the NOC, we've got Tony and Dan, which are, as of right now, not a member of any team.
Mm-hmm.
So should they be a member of the team?
They are, to me, in my mind, they are a two-man team. And within teams, you can have team leads, right?
Right.
But Tony and Dan work for both territories. They're more of a shared service center. They're kind of like Lori. Lori doesn't work for a team because we need her skills across both teams. Tony and Dan are both subject matter experts in their particular business, their particular technologies. So they're not really on a team either. And neither is Tyler or Eric or me, right? We're on both teams. So, and I'm not going to belittle Tony's role, but Tony doesn't touch customers and talk about their desktop and their stupid printer issue and, you know, that dang scanner on the 4th floor, right? Like Mike Zorno does. The level of intimacy is where the customer touch needs to be. And we'll talk a little bit about why the cloud makes it to where this is so much more important in a little while. Cool. But I think they're a team. I think they're a two-man team. But it's more like the SME team or something like that. You probably come up with something catchy. Maybe the green.
Green team.
The green team is actually the creative team. But we might, if someone really pressured us, we might be able to come up with something more creative than 3 colors. But anyway. All right. So I really wanted to spend some time working on the org chart because I passed that out, and it's been out. It looked exactly like that a long time ago. But I don't think everyone really understood the magnitude of what needed to occur and why, which is that customer intimacy. So this is actually some excerpts from an earlier quarterly meeting. Okay, and this is kind of what was this is first quarter 2011's quarterly. Okay, when we did the orange and blue split. Okay, this is why clients don't think the new folks or the CNOC really know their business. There's this ownership of issues problem. Teamwork between field and remote. Field remote ticket production. The bonus is too broad and not individual. CITM versus tech, us versus them. There's a management vacuum and escalation's not occurring quickly enough. These are some of the tech service concerns that we talked about in the first quarter. Okay, that was one of the reasons we split into the 2 teams. Okay, because Ryland is not on another team than the tech. They're both on the, I can never remember the colors, the blue team? Blue. They're both on the blue team. And they have to think that way, they have to operate that way, the customers have to perceive it that way. And quite honestly, the techs need to get that they're not against them. We're on the same team. We're trying to help each other's bonus, we're trying to help each other's paycheck, job security, customer sat. We're all on the same team. Okay, so we did this, right? CNOC help desk, 2 teams, 1 goal. Team orange, which is Tampa Bay, team blue, outside Tampa Bay. I want to remember that.
It's probably going to be on the quiz, so you might want to study up.
Just remember bullseye, orange in the middle, Tampa being the main office.
in the middle.
Red's in the middle of a bullseye.
No, I know, but.
Actually,
use
yellow's in the
orange.
middle of the bullseye line.
I'm just using it as a metaphor, holy Toledo,
All right.
to help you remember.
So there's your teams, right? The CNOC help desk, 2 teams, 1 goal. SME is the shared resource team. Who's on a team? You have the CNOC dedicated help desk, field engineers, PSA, BSA, field technical team lead, the CITMs, the BTAs. They're all on the same team. So let me kind of reiterate the NOC thing, guys, because there's some concern about that. And to be honest with you, and I've confessed to Tyler, I've been studying who answers his phone and how often they're on the phone. And 90% of the day, no one's on the phone. And I don't think that's a good thing. And 90% of all inbound calls are answered by 1 or 2 people. That's not a good thing either. Tyler's got a challenge in his hands. There's a cultural thing where no one wants to talk on the stupid phone. And Everyone thinks kind of answering the phones beneath them. So that's his challenge. To be honest with you, I have a lot of confidence in his ability to change that culture. But now hopefully he understands a little bit more about why that's so critical. It's the customers. Ultimately, the customers determine our success or failure. And right now they're voting with their checkbook. And our revenues are down 20% year over year on managed services. That's a big number. Okay? We have no choice but to fix that. If it were me, I would, after this meeting, talk to those teams and explain, figure out how to see the inbound calls coming in and make it to where it's very painfully clear to them that if we're going to be doing some inspections or we're going to watch who answers what phone, and if these people don't answer these phones, they won't be here. If you have a remote person that's unwilling to talk on the phone, that's a big problem. I don't care if it's Tony or Chris London. Doesn't really matter. That's, no one here is out of we're all in the customer service business.
Terry.
Mm-hmm.
I have several guys in remote offices that are particularly like Eric and Lee, who are just working whenever they're not out somewhere, they're working tickets. Are you saying you want them working tickets just for the blue team?
First for the blue team.
Okay.
If there's a point where there's no more tickets available for the blue team, then yes, they can work for the orange team. My gut instinct is, one of the challenges that we have right now is we have people who are too good for certain things, and that culture has to go away. We got where we are because none of us were too good to do anything. How many people remember me unpacking boxes and crap like that? That's where Patrick, that's what got us where we are. If there's someone here that thinks they're too good to do a desktop support ticket, they don't fit. We're a blue-collar company. We're in a blue-collar city. No one's too good for anything. We're not too good to answer the phone. We're not too good to drive in our car and bring Tony lunch or dinner because he's had an all-nighter at whatever, some customer trying to get him back up and running. We're not too good to do anything. And I think we've got this thing right now where people cherry pick out of the queue. And to be honest with you, it's hurting their customers and it's hurting their team. So we're going to start measuring efficiency by team. We're going to start doing rewards based on teams. Lee needs to be chewing tickets, regardless of what they are, for Orlando. And if Orlando's, because he's going to know the customer, we want the people who are the most intimately aware of our customers to take care of as many tickets as we possibly can, regardless of what level they are or where they are. If they're available, they're working on tickets for the customers they know the best, regardless of what kind of ticket it is. Because that customer, they're going to develop a deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper relationship. We're going to fix the tickets faster because we know the customers, right? But most importantly, we're going to start building that. Wow, Infinity really knows me. So maybe in the past, Lee might have gone there. I only work on networking tickets and baloney. And I'm not picking on Lee here because I think everyone here, a lot of people here have become kind of accustomed to the fact that they only do a certain thing. They don't do desktop support anymore. I don't do anything but servers. Those days are gone. And if we can't get that out of those people, then we need to turn those people over. Because that's what got us where we are today. And honestly, that was a source of competitive advantage that no one was able to match. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse as we've gotten bigger, and customers have noticed that we're colder and colder and colder. We're too big for them, is one thing I'm hearing from a lot of customers. Okay? So this team thing is a way to fix that. And then the fact that just everyone's on the same page, guys. The field engineers, the dedicated help desk, the team leads, the CITMs, the BTAs, we're all on the same team. We need to hold each other to a higher standard. We can't expect we don't inspect. If everyone's responsible, no one's responsible. Peer accountability works. Follow policies, procedures, job descriptions, core values, and the golden rule. We talked about this, right? This is kind of going back to the quarterly meeting recap. Oops. timesheets. First of all, I want to say how freaking pleasantly surprised, shocked, and amazed that I am of how many people are getting their timesheet in by 8 o'clock in the morning. That's spectacular. You should be really proud of that. Thank you for enforcing that, managers. With our most delinquent person has 3, right? Which is Ron, as I know it, right?
What?
Yeah, you're the most delinquent timesheet person in the company, which isn't good because you're getting close to losing your bonus. But I'm amazed that it's only 3. I thought like we'd have 20 people with 3 in the 3rd week, you know. So that's a great sign. And we're starting to work on some pretty detailed analytics right now. But bullshitting your timesheet isn't going to cut it. If it takes you 15 minutes to drive somewhere and your timesheet says it takes an hour and a half, or you were somewhere for 15 minutes and your timesheet says you were there for 2 hours, you're going to get caught. You know, that's that sign in my driver's ed class in high school said, sooner or later speeders see the light. Sooner or later cheaters are going to get caught. And you know what will happen to them? They're going to be gone. They're only hurting themselves, and they're only hurting our ability to pay them more. It all comes back to actual money. When you exaggerate, we have customers that are pissed off at us for only being somewhere for 15 minutes, and their timesheet says they were there for an hour and a half. Or, even worse, they were there for an hour and a half and their timesheet says 15 minutes. And that might be an extreme example. Let's make it a 15-minute increment. They were there for an hour and a half and their timesheet says an hour and 15 minutes because the techs like to get really aggressive on their timesheets because they don't want the customer to be billed so much. We're seeing that too. That hurts, especially after hours. Or if you take a ticket and don't put it in the system, that hurts, especially after hours, especially billable tickets. But what we're seeing is it's a disease. If you kind of have a habit of not logging a ticket or not doing your timesheet, you just don't do a timesheet and don't, even if it's billable, you don't kind of think of it that way anymore. As many after-hours alerts as we have, we should have as many after-hour tickets. Anytime someone does something after hours, even if it's calling someone, that should be in a ticket. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in the technical services meeting this afternoon. We've got some more enlightenment to share, but the technical team, see this is from that whole quarterly, the technical team lead should be verifying the timesheets. Ron should be writing his team to get their timesheet. Well, wait a minute, I know you were at that customer for 3 hours. Because Ron's actually more actively involved in what's going on with his team. We'll talk about that in a minute. Verification and reporting to exec weekly. Filler hours are not accepted, only actual work types. We've got a lot of people putting time to just miscellaneous crap. We even have someone in this room that will remain nameless that created an account that you just put dummy time against. Big blocks of time because they're too damn lazy to do their timesheet. Like 8-hour blocks. Like this one customer has, this is not a real customer, has a bunch of tickets in there for 8 hours a piece because so that they can bullshit their timesheet. 80% utilization or greater is expected in the field, 100% in the CNOC, and office-based personnel. Not enough work? Ask your manager for more. The fact that we have fillers in our timesheets is comical to me. Comical. That even the services leadership should have at least 50% of their time billable in their timesheet. 50. At least 50. And to be honest with you, on many weeks, it should be more. All of this said, we are working our butts off. I have not seen a single person in Affinity who's lazy, who's not doing their job, who's not working 8 hours a day. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, we're too damn lazy to get into our timesheets accurately. The problem is, the only way it gets to an invoice is if it's in a timesheet, if it's in a ticket. The only way we're able to demonstrate value to our customer and show how many hours we spent on them for the last year is if it's in the timesheet. The only way it's invoiced is if it's in a timesheet. The only way that that money is received back to this company is if it's on an invoice. And the only way we can give it to someone in a paycheck or a raise or an additional resource is if we get that money in the bank. Right? So this is kind of like, if garbage in, garbage out. If we're unwilling to make our timesheet, we should be unwilling to get a raise or a promotion or additional resources when requested. You with me? So right now, there's a lot of heat. No one here ever gets paid enough, right? Other than Alex. Alex has said that she's paid too much. But other than that, everyone's at one point or another said, wow, I deserve more money, I need more money, I'm broke, I'm this, I'm that, right? Nick really is whining right now about money. The problem is, guys, this is how we make our living. This is how we make our living. So if we're not billing our time, we don't have money to give. Believe me, there's not one person in the world that would rather give everyone a 20% raise than Laura and I. We have no grand desire to like steal. We don't have it in the bank. It's not like we're not getting it. And the root cause is the timesheet. So the first thing we did was said, you know what, we're going to tighten up the timeline, 8 a.m. the next business day. Now we're going in there and going, you know what, quit bullshitting your timesheet. Okay? And what we're seeing, there's a lot of different ways to bullshit a timesheet. From not putting any detail behind any ticket, not putting a ticket in for anything you do, to just within a ticket, wow. They don't know if it took me 15 minutes to drive here or 2 hours. They don't know if they don't know if I was on site 15 minutes or 2 hours. I'll actually work for 3 hours a day, but my timesheet will say 8, so it'll get off my back. When in reality, they didn't want to go get the rest of the tickets they need to fill up their day. So it's really hurting our ability to keep customers happy and everything. It's all tied together. So this goes back to that. So the first Friday should be a TTL meeting. Okay? Every single first Friday should be a technical team lead meeting. And that meeting, in my opinion, should include service leads too. You, Tyler and Eric specifically. Second Friday is all technical services. Third Friday is the TTL. Fourth Friday is all. And the fifth Friday of every month, there's 4 per year, is a whole territory meeting. Okay? And that should be a big meeting, a long meeting with the whole territory. So Jim Althouse should be taking a leadership role there. He should be there. He should be working with Ryland, the PSAs and the BSAs and the RSAs. And you know what, guys? Maybe something that should be done by office. You know, we shouldn't have one big territory meeting. Maybe we should have, in my mind, there were supposed to be 4 individual meetings. You know? Obviously, Tampa can occur concurrently with other cities. Right? But Jim, we don't want to bother Lee for Richard's territory. Right? But we need to talk. Hey, what's going on, guys? What are you seeing? What's there in the market? Let's talk about particular customers. What are the hot issues? What are you seeing out there? Okay? We need to get this meeting schedule firm. The technical team leads need to talk. We need to all be on the same page. So again, there's really 2 technical team leads a month and two services meetings a month. And then 4 times a year there's a territory meeting. And those territory meetings, in my opinion, probably should be long too. We're going to go talk to, I would maybe talk about every customer. Every customer in the territory. What are the sales opportunities? What are the service concerns? Where are we? What's going on? Let's talk, let's communicate. Let me ask a question. Who should take the leadership role in those territory meetings? Is that something the BTAs should take point on? Or is that something like the PSA? I mean, what?
Probably CITM.
I was going to say CITM.
My only problem with that, though, goes back to him being split.
Yeah.
Because he's half Tampa, half Orlando, half Tampa, a third Orlando.
So he has 4 meetings to go to. That's fine.
So but that's why I'm saying I don't know that he's the CITM would be lead, because you've got Tampa split in half, so you've got both of them in there trying to talk to different.
Which would mean that
I just mean
if
Mark
he's
would-
involved in those, you couldn't have Tampa and one of the other areas meeting at the same time.
That's right.
Ryland is doing both.
It's 4 times a year, guys. So I don't care if it's on a Saturday. To be honest with you. I don't care if it's 4 hours. if I were you, I think the CITM has probably the most to gain. The customer has the most to gain, okay? Second to the customer is probably the CITM. If the service guys are like, hey, fix this, fix that, this customer's got to get a UPS, you know, and we're going customer by customer, detail review of the territory, it may last a while, especially in Tampa. You may want to split Tampa up into a couple of smaller meetings, I don't know. But the technical team leads, Ron was supposed to take one of those first few, okay? I didn't get a meeting minute from any of them. I want a meeting minute from every single one. So the first Friday and the third Friday, I want to get meeting minutes from the technical team lead meeting. Okay? So, Eric, Tyler, I need you guys to nominate a technical team lead.
Richard's doing it now.
Okay, so those meetings need to occur, and then I need to get meeting minutes. Okay, they should be distributed to the whole technical team leads because decisions are made in there, and we'll talk about that. All right, so let's talk about the technical team lead. This is arguably the most important role in this company. Okay? They're the overall leadership for the firm technically. Each individual one has a vote into what it is we recommend to our customers. Collectively, they represent the technical brain trust for our organization. What are we doing? Like, for instance, one of the topics should be, what are we going to do about HP? Guys, what's going on with HP is going to cause some heartburn for our customers. Should we start looking at Lenovo? Should we start looking at alternatives to HP? And the answer may be, you know what? My personal opinion right now is, you know what? We're going to wait and see mode.
See what happens.
We don't believe that HP's PC unit is going to stop operating. In fact, I believe it's going to be spun off and be its own company.
Yeah, I think they're going to spin off and form Compact back up, to be honest with you. That's kind of what the rumor
Okay,
is.
interesting. So the answer may be nothing, but that's the kind of thing that should be talked about in there. You know, EMC has a pretty cheap SAN product out there that competes with the left-hand product. They just came up with a new product that's pretty freaking impressive. And another example, should we really be recommending iSCSI storage versus direct attached storage for cloud environments? That's the kind of thing that should be coming out of the technical team lead meeting.
This was done in first quarter, so Don Conklin is now Eric Combs.
Okay. True.
I say that because there are some people who aren't here and don't know why it's there.
Okay. There's a quarterly leadership rotation, minutes and the meeting. Ron starts it. There's a monthly meeting, okay, minimum, which now it's every 2 weeks, right? Minutes distributed to the firm leadership. They should establish standards for hardware selection, additions of products or services to our offering, project estimation standards, cross-team issues, and cross-team opportunities. The technical team leads are responsible for mentoring their teams. They're responsible for escalation of all issues in the territory from the field and the CNOC. Okay, so we're in a problem. Ron, what do you want us to do? So Ron should actually be in a more constant dialogue about what's going on within his territory. Because no one should know more than the collective combination of Ron's technical skills and client intimacy within his territory. So he's a logical person to escalate to. So he may say, you know what, go ahead and send Mike. He should have a vote in that process. That is the level 3 for the field. Right? So the level 3 for the field is the default person to do the big projects, like big server implementations and things like that. He's also the person that's going to be, he or she, I guess hopefully one day we'll get a girl, ownership of territory clients in conjunction with the PSA. So in other words, when we lose a customer, the technical team lead should feel that. They should be personally insulted and know that I am holding them personally accountable. Why do you think that is? Why should Lee be responsible when an Orlando customer leaves?
Because he didn't know what's going on with them.
Why should he know what's going on with them?
It's his client.
That's right. Lee should be checking in with all clients in Orlando. How are we doing? Are there any concerns? What can I do to make your life better? He should be going into those customers and auditing his engineer's work. Is he doing his job correctly? He should be going into those customers and being proactive and bringing the CITMs ideas for things to do to improve the customer's IT environment. Hey, look, the UPSs are bad. Hey, look, they don't even have UPSs on their PCs. Hey, look, their server room's a freaking mess. When you go visit a customer within a territory, hey, Ron, what are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing?
Following your slideshow.
Hey. He's got to know what's going on with those customers, technically as well as with the customer itself. Okay? He's the person responsible for auditing what the PSAs are doing. He's the person responsible for mentoring and training the PSA. So he should be getting feedback from the customers on how his PSAs are doing. Okay? The technical team leads should be generating so dadgum many leads in Autotask that their fingers hurt. Because they're doing it for the customers they go to, but also they're kind of stopping in. So it is actually impossible for a technical team lead to not have 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day of billable work. Because if they have 15 minutes, they should be stopping in to audit the customer. I want to log on the server. Are we doing our job? Is the remote team doing patch management right? Is Mike Zorno taking care of this server? Does this server room look like an infinity server room? If Mark McAfee goes to a customer in Tampa and it looks like hell in the server room, that reflects poorly on Ron. If Mike Zorno is failing and I find out about it from the customer, that reflects poorly on Ron. Yeah.
From a BTA's perspective, the IT assessments are probably the biggest thing that I struggle with. Who do I hold responsible or accountable for that deliverable and the quality of that? Would that be Ron or would that be somebody else?
The technical team leads are responsible for doing the surveys, assessments, and the audits.
Okay.
Ideally. They may have other people that they've authorized or delegated responsibility to. Eric and Tyler can also play a vote in that. But the default for Tampa to do that work is Ron.
Okay, so if I have an issue, I go to Ron and then Ron...
No,
No.
you never go to Ron.
Okay.
Ron doesn't work for you. You go to Eric.
I go to Eric and then Eric takes care of it.
That's right.
Has John been doing your assessments last?
Zorno.
In my opinion, it blows my mind that Zorno isn't way more than doing freaking surveys, but that's not my department. He doesn't work for me, he works for Eric. There may be very valid reasons for that.
If Zorno was doing an assessment, it was not booked through me.
Yeah, he's done, my past 3 have been through him and he doesn't even have like the deliverable for it.
Okay, let me help you understand, okay? That's how we eat in sales. That deliverable and okay, there's 2 ways we eat in sales. Both of them come from service. Okay, generating the lead, Alex has done a spectacular job. Our leads are up significantly over before she got here. Okay, that's her job. Nick's job is to get in there and smile, okay, gain trust and credibility, and then leverage the deliverable produced by the technical team to close business. The CITMs depend on the audit to provide them with their living. What he's saying, when the assessments suck, basically you're taking food away from him.
Okay, no one's ever come to me and said their assessment sucked, ever.
Yeah, I apologize.
Okay.
I've just been kind of...
The audits,
getting through it.
I just really want, it's hard to see the link between all this. The customers would be happy if they had no problems. They'd have no problems if we told them everything that needed to be fixed for them to not have any problems. It all comes back to the audit and the assessment. Closing customers, keeping them happy, making them happy.
But the first start in this is what we're doing, holding people accountable. And if people know who to hold accountable, then we know where to start.
Okay? Audits of clients to ensure performance. And then the technical team lead is the one responsible for appointment of the PSA, BSA for each client. How do we know who the PSA is for each client? How do I know?
Is it on our calendar?
That's right. So who's responsible for putting it in Autodesk?
Assume the PSA, if he's the one.
Technical team
the
lead.
Technical team lead.
You got it. Francesca, Tyler, Eric may change that based on the input of the technical team lead. Okay? But that's the technical supervisor for the territory. Right now, I believe that this role has got to start performing like this, or we're going to lose Eric. Either because he's going to actually keel over and die, or because he's going to leave. The technical team lead should conduct regular team meetings to ensure teamwork within their territory. Take a random sample. Richard, when's the last time you had a formal team meeting with the engineers within your team, within your territory? Hello?
You might be on mute.
Sorry, Terry, Hedden was muted.
It's
been a while. I don't know if I've actually had a formal meeting.
Okay, that's what I just want to verify. I don't want to pick on Ron here because he's physically standing here looking at me, but the reality, guys, is that the PSAs and the BSAs and the technical team leads should be meeting. And this is not an 8 to 5 business meeting. This is an 8 to 9 business meeting. This is, let's meet at 7 and have breakfast. Let's meet at 12 at Hooters and have lunch. These are working meetings, right? Lunches, breakfast. You can't interfere with the day, okay? They may occur on a Saturday. Ron may have everyone over to his house to do, we're gonna go fishing in my backyard, right? And that's the meeting. You're getting the communication lines going. You're talking about your particular territory. You're using the opportunity to do training and mentoring, right? Get some rules underway, get some standards. Let's talk about the server room today, guys. This is what a server room should look like that's run by Infinity. The technical team lead should be a role model for dress code, behavior, policies and procedures, work ethic, availability, etc. The technical team lead is not an 8-hour-a-day job. It is not a 9-hour-a-day job. It is at least a 10-hour-a-day job. It is at least a 50-hour-a-week job. It is not an easy job. Because they're a tech point of escalation for a lot of things. It's a big job. It's going to take a big leader to do this. Okay? They should maintain a personalization of 70% or greater. This is a big job description, guys. I really want the PSAs to understand this. I'm sorry, the BTAs and the CITMs to understand this job because it's crucial for them. They need to be able to know who to escalate to as well. Right? So Ron does not have his own customers. Ron's responsible for all customers in the Tampa Bay market. Okay? Richard is not. He has Ron has customers too. Richard has customers too, but Richard's responsible for all customers in the Sarasota market. He's going to have a level of knowledge about all of them that's going to be second only to the PSA of each of them. Right? No one's going to have more intimate knowledge of the customer than the primary system administrator that rolls on site. Okay? But the technical team lead, all in all, should be able to talk about all the customers. I've been to every server room. They should be good to every customer in their territory once every something, depending on the territory. Atlanta, it's only one guy up there, right? Orlando, Lee should probably go to every customer every month. Tampa might be a little harder to do that. Maybe every month for big customers, quarter for little customers, at the least, maybe. But they've got to know what's going on. So that when we have the territory meetings, Ron can actually speak intelligently about all the customers.
The standards part would help us tremendously here. Hardware selection especially, and project estimation standards. Depending on who we speak to, we actually will get different recommendations, which can be conflict of interest if that person that recommended this is out on vacation, somebody else goes in. They don't know what's going on. But if we can get the standardized hardware, project estimations, and get that to us where everybody agrees, that's what we start with. The client might not buy all of it. We might have to go one-offs, which is fine, we'll have to get those approved. But it'll give us something that we're working with, so if Richard's working on something when he's out, Simpson goes out there, or Tony has to work on it, there's no, oh, I would have done it this way, I would have done it that way. It's okay, we know what's going on, we know it's a DL360, we know it's standard across the board, this is what we recommend for the, that way we know, it'll help Mark and myself when we're asking questions of the client to know, we'll also know, you know, is it a tower, is it a rack, is it, you know, it will help us tremendously if we can get a standardization of what we're selling.
What he's talking about is, we've had a number of examples where these people disagreed and gave differing recommendations, and they won't stand up for each other's recommendations. That's a big problem. Eric and Tyler both have a huge vote in a recommendation, but ultimately the recommendation for a customer comes from the lead architect for the territory clients, which is the technical team lead, territory team lead, right? That's the person responsible for providing a recommendation. Okay? Tyler is brilliant, but he does not know enough about all of our customers to provide a recommendation about all of our customers. He can't, it's not even close to fair. Tony's brilliant too, but he's never even been to Orlando Science Center. He can't possibly know everything there is to know. So if it's something that pulls in a subject matter expert, they should be working with a technical team lead to derive a solution that unifies both expertise. What Rylan is mentioning, which is a problem, is when Tony's operating in a silo and Lee's operating in a silo, they give two different recommendations. When the CITMs or the sales team in general just says, look guys, tell me the solution. We shouldn't have to call 25 people to get 25 opinions and sync them up. That should be done for us. So the technical team leads for the territory should come in with the subject matter experts, the Tylers, the Tonys, the Dans, to merge together to come up with one solution, which has been given to Patrick to put in a proposal, which has been given to Rylan, which has been given to the customer, so that when it comes back around and we hand it to the sales services team, they don't go, wait a minute, I don't fucking believe in this crap, I don't believe in it. Wrong. That's not fair. It's not fair to the sales guy, but it's really, really not fair to the customer. Because you know what? They may be right. This is a big job. It's a hard job, and this is not for everybody. Okay? But I believe in these people. And if they can't do it, if it's not something that Ron is going to want to do or be able to do, that's fine. We'll find someone who will. This is an important job, number one. Number two, Tampa may need to be split into two eventually so that we can keep the intimacy there. But I think right now we just need to start with this. Thankfully, Ron's got a lot of hours and a lot of weeks that he can use to do this job. So the technical team lead should be logging more sales opportunities than almost everyone in their territory combined. Any questions on this one?
Terry, Jim Althouse, I have a question.
Sure.
Do we track or have any idea when the techs touch a client in a proactive way? I know we have service calls and we go out there and work on things, but let's say a client hasn't been contacted or just a visit to see how things are going, whether it's a phone call or in person. Is there any way we track that?
Yes. It doesn't. If it's not an auto task, it didn't happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So when we use Ron, when Ron stops into 20 customers a week to pay a courtesy visit, an audit visit, an inspection visit, whatever you want to call it, shake hands, kiss babies visit, that's logged in Autotask. 100% of the time, before 8 a.m. the next business morning.
There's a role, or there's a place where it says courtesy visit. That was in there.
Used to be. IMS schedule, but then it's not anymore.
And we need to add that back in there.
No. It's just a visit. There's no, courtesy visit was a concept where we basically had the PSA stop by, whatever.
Oh, what they're saying is, if you're gonna log a ticket for that, you have to have a work type.
What's the
Right, if Ron goes out, he's on site, it's a silver customer, they're gonna get a bill unless we
With
have the
courtesy.
right work type for him to
Right, which
to
would be
use.
courtesy visit, so we can do that.
No, there's a flat 5 that says this should not be billable.
Right.
Okay?
Override?
Yeah. That's what that's for. The problem with creating
Well, if I'm
codes
gonna
that don't
start
go to
spot
bills
checking
is they
people,
tend to
right?
be used by people who just don't want to bill customers.
The reason that I would like to have something like that or a, you know, whatever is so we can track that.
Right.
Because otherwise it's just in with all the other tickets. What Jim is saying is how do we track that? And the way to track it is you go, hey, filter all the tickets with this work type, you know, within the last 6 months and match against the customer
Yeah, it
list.
used to be
You
under
know,
IMS maintenance schedule for some IMS schedule we used to use.
We can work on that.
Okay. Any other questions on the technical team lead? Effective immediately.
Terry, one other thing.
Yeah.
Terry, Jim Althouse, one other thing I'll mention, we're fortunate enough here in Sarasota to have a very small office, so I'm very close to the techs, and although we don't have any kind of formal meeting, which I think is what you're asking for as we move forward, we do typically meet every week in an informal meeting, and we do discuss our clients in Sarasota. So I just want to let you know that's something Richard and Stephen and myself have been doing.
The two different meetings, what you just described is probably close to a territory meeting. What I'm talking about is where Richard would get not only Stephen, but also all the engineers at Sarasota Memorial Hospital together once every so often and talk.
Also Ryland.
And Ryland. The territory meeting would include Ryland,
Right.
and the technical, team meeting, orange team, blue team meeting would include Ryland. The territory engineer meeting, technical team led meeting would include the Sarasota Memorial contractors and the other people that report into Richard.
And Chris and Stephen.
And Chris and Stephen. Well, no, that would go back to the team meeting.
Outside, you're talking about territories.
So there's the meeting, okay, so let's use real names. So Richard should have a meeting with Stephen, Nathan, and Ray.
Can I say something about that though? I disagree with that with 1099s because they're not paid.
we
by
can't
the
make them
hour.
have a meeting.
1099.
Right, we'd have to pay them for nothing.
We can ask them as optional. This is lunch. They don't have to come, but I'm not paying, we're not going to pay them for the
I'm
meeting.
saying optional, but make sure that they're worth it,
Okay.
we're not paying for that food.
And then when there's an orange team meeting or what's called a territory meeting, then Ryland needs to come, but also Stephen Twait needs to come. Because he's the primary remote system administrator for Sarasota. So that's a good point. So we were talking about the remote team. So even within the blue team, Chris should be the primary remote system administrator for Orlando and Atlanta, and Twait should be for Sarasota. That's what was in the org chart. All right, so we're going to really start enforcing the technical. I'm going to say we. Tyler and Eric are going to be enforcing this job description effective immediately.
Because Terry's gonna hold them accountable.
Because I'm going to hold them accountable, because that's the future of our company is at stake. Let me just say that. Future growth prospects of our company are at stake. I think we can stay the size we are now and just gradually shrink for a long time.
We can set a recurring meeting in Outlook for the war badgers to get together and discuss, like have our account meeting or our orange team to get together and just have a reoccurring in Outlook so that
It already is.
Nice, well stated. Well done. All right. Now we're going to go to what we call the service managers, and that's Tyler and Eric, right? They have the ultimate responsibility for service level agreement attainment, client retention and satisfaction, for conducting regular team meetings to ensure teamwork within the department, create and manage processes, procedures, and job descriptions. The field lead is also a project manager. 25% of all engineering time on a project is project management time. So if you have a project going on that's 8 hours a day, there should be 2 to 2 hours a day of project management time for that day. Right? They should also be a role model for dress code, behavior, policy procedures, work ethic, and availability. They manage resource allocation, reallocation between cities and departments. So Eric has the ability and responsibility to shift resources from Sarasota to Tampa, or Tampa to Sarasota, or Orlando to Tampa, Tampa to Orlando, and obviously Atlanta as well. And then they should maintain a personal utilization of 50% or greater. So you have management responsibilities, internal responsibilities, but then you have client responsibilities too. The fact that there's a fixed fee engagement that includes, so in other words, the fact that the time is not billable, or I'm sorry, invoiceable, is actually irrelevant. It's critically important for us to have accuracy in our customer profitability, our contract profitability. To do that, we have to have all the time in there. That's one example. Second example is if we're going to have hold people, specifically solutions engineers, technical team leads, project managers accountable for project profitability, the time allocated to that project needs to be in the project. Ron is a brilliant guy. He's also a stunningly attractive guy with his new teeth. But he is not a project manager. A project manager creates a status report every single Friday for every single open project, without ever an exception. A project manager provides a project plan for each customer that outlines the specific tasks, responsibility, people responsible, and due dates for everything before a project commences. There's a lot of responsibility that goes along in being a project manager. The rise of the technical team lead is required to allow Eric to do his job as a project manager. Right now, Eric is doing the job of the technical team lead, and you know what? He's not even qualified to do it. He's not technically strong enough. Eric's getting crushed, Tyler's getting crushed.